Alrighty, YouTube, and welcome back to Fern Valley Farms YouTube channel. On this channel, we're pure country. Today we're back in the bee shop here. We are getting honey supers built, so stay tuned. Alrighty, YouTube, and welcome back to Fern Valley Farm. On this channel, we are pure country. Today we are working on our bee stuff. We're getting ready for spring here. I'm building honey super boxes. Planning on doing a bunch of splits this year. Planning on expanding the honey to some more hives, so I need more boxes. Actually, I kind of got overkill going. I don't quite need as many as I built here, which is fine because I will use them. I've got 8 of these built. I got 1 more to build. I figured you guys wouldn't want to see me watch or build every box, so I'm going to show you how I build the last box. The insides of these boxes are routed to where the frame is going to sit. It's no different than a regular store-bought box, and when you build these, you could use a store-bought box as a pattern. This is a 3/4 inch router bit, which I'll show you in a second. Then I cut this notch, and I don't have a frame handy, but the frame will fit right in there and sit on there perfect. I cut the 3/4 inch notch. The frame will sit on here. It'll give me my 3/8 bee space, so there's plenty of space when the frame sits on here, and then the next box that sits on top of that. So if you're not exactly sure the dimension, just take a store-bought box or just take a piece of scrap, put your frame on it, and make sure there's enough of a gap to where the bees can get. So when the frame is sitting on here, let me just grab a frame. Hold on a second. I didn't think about that part. Let me grab a frame here. Alright, hold on. Here I come. Alright. So anyways, you take your frame, and you want to have it set to where your frame will sit right in there. And then you've got plenty of space. See? And it works out. If you can see it on the camera here, it works out just fine. You've got plenty of space right here for your gap, and your frame slides back and forth really nice. But what I did, I used a store-bought honey super. Same thing with my deep boxes. I use that as a pattern because the dimensions of these are off just a little bit. They're like 16 and I forget the whole length is like 19 and 7/8 or something like that, and the width is 16 and like 3/8. Why they didn't make them an even number, I don't know. I'm just doing I'm just following along here. I'm not sure why they wouldn't make it an even number. You think you'd make it simpler. So anyways, I've got 8 of them built. And I'm going to show you guys how I put the last one together. I'm going to show you my router table. I'm going to take the end boards. I'm going to cut my notch with my router here. So let me turn the camera so you can see. And if you're using a router, where are we at here? Sorry if I'm moving this too much. If you're using a router, you want to be really careful because this thing will eat your fingers up like it's nothing. So hopefully I'm not getting cut off here in the picture. I can't see. Let me raise this up a little bit here. This is live theater, people. So let me raise this camera up a little bit so you can see. Okay. No, I don't think I'm being cut off now. All right. This will actually go on my blooper video. I'm actually making a blooper video. It should be really funny. I'm editing my 2018 bloopers. There's not a whole lot of them, but I think it'll be kind of funny. So every year I'm going to do that. I'm going to put my bloopers together and you can watch them. Sometimes I do stop and redo takes. Anyways, okay, so you got your board, this is the short end of the box. I usually pick which is either the nicer end of the board to cut the notch. This is just 1x8s that have to be trimmed down. If you buy a 1x8, which a 1x8 is 7, and it's actually 7.5, but when this thing trims down, it's like 6 5/8. So you want to, like I said, you want to use a. If you have the exact dimensions, from somewhere, that's fine. Or use a store-bought. That'll give you your exact dimension. So you do got to trim these down. So this is a 1x8. I took it on my table saw and I trimmed off the last 1/2 inch. And I'm going to show you what I do with that scrap. Actually, don't throw nothing away. You can always use your scrap. So anyways, the boards are cut. Both sides of these boards. And all this is just regular. It's not the quality 1x8s. It's the what do they call it? Select, or it's a standard. I'm sorry. It's a 1x8. It's just a standard lumber. If you want to really spend a lot of money, you could buy the the quality, which is perfect, but this stuff works just perfectly fine. And just so you know, if you buy a 1x, let's just say a 1x8 by 12 if you're going to build your supers, or a 1x12 by 12 for your deeps, a 12-foot board will build you 2 boxes. Or you could buy a 6-foot board and build 1 box. I just buy 12-foot boards. I wait till they're on sale and I stockpile a bunch of this lumber, then I've already got it. So a 1x8 by 12 foot will build you 2 boxes. You'll have a little bit of the trim off the end. So I'm going to take these boards, I'm going to put them on my router table. It's going to get loud for a second. You know how loud that is. Okay, let me just reposition the camera here, and I will show you guys what this looks like. Hang on here. Sorry for moving the camera around too much. Get back to the table. Okay. It sure is nice when I have a camera person here, and I still can't get this thing straight. Let me get this backed up here. Let me back this up. All right, so here's your notch. You can see your groove right there. Your frame will sit right on there just like that. Perfect. So let me just back this camera up a little bit here, and I will show you guys the other way. Okay. So you've got your end boards cut. You can just double check it and make sure it fits right, just like that. What I built. Here again out of scrap lumber, real simple and easy. You can take your board. These I use just coated sinkers. These are 6D nails. You can buy them I buy all my stuff at Menards, but these are 6D nails. And I'll get my nails started. I always want to start 2 nails. I'll get it started. One thing you want to be careful with some of this lumber, you see the knot? Don't try and hammer through a knot. You'll split it. So even when you're going to go nail into your long parts of your board, if you see any knots, there's no knots on this one, but if you see a knot here anywhere, don't try and nail into that because you'll split your board. So just position your nail so you're not nailing into the knot. So what I do, I get this board started. I like this Tidal Bond premium wood glue. This stuff is really nice. It's supposed to be waterproof. It's really, really strong. This stuff works really good because you're outside. I'm gonna actually turn my light on here. Hold on. Here again, live theater. Right here we go. Okay, now you can see me a little bit better. Tidal Bond. This wood glue works really, really nice. So what I do, I got my little jig that I made here. This board sits up there perfect, just like that. You take this board. I usually pick the nicer side for the outside to be painted. The inside, it doesn't really matter. The bees don't care, right? So I use the outside, and I'll just put it like this. A little bit of glue. You don't need a whole lot. You got your jig. Set it right there. Get your corner flush. Just like that. I'll take my hammer, I'll start it. I only want to make sure my outsides are lined up really nice. And any glue that kind of comes out the side, just kind of smooth it out. I'll go to the other side. hand, I will do the same thing. I'll pick the nicer side for the outside. Okay, so now here's a knot right there. Right there. I'm not going to nail it. That nail that I've got sitting right here, I'm not going to use that one now because there's a knot there. So what I'll do, I'm going to get it started still. I'm still going to glue it, obviously. The glue is really nice because it really keeps all this stuff together. Put that right there. So now, I'm going to make sure it's flush. I'm going to reposition this nail here. Pull this nail out. Okay, hold on. Like I said, I don't want to take a chance of nailing into that nail or into that knot because I don't want to split that wood. See how nice that thing works? Just cheap wood, just scrap wood. Glue it, nail it together, and you've got a perfect thing to hold your frame together. Slides right out. Put this over there. Turn it over. And make sure I've got my cut groove here. Make sure your other groove is on the same side. Gee, you wonder why I'm telling you this? I've learned the hard way. I'll put a whole box together, and it'll be like this. And you gotta pop it. You gotta pop it apart. One nice thing about this glue is if you do screw up, which of course I found out, if this thing is dry and all together, if you were to pick this up and just tap it with your hammer, it'll pop. It'll just pop right loose. So that's one nice thing about the glue. The glue works great, but if you do mess up, which you will, it'll come apart real easy. So I'm going to start a couple of nails again here. Get a couple of nails. There's no knot there or there. And I am going to, once it's put together, I am going to use 6 nails total. I just use 2 on either side to get it started. So, saw this off of there. Let's do one side first. I only put glue on one side first before I do the other side. If you put it on both sides, when you put this thing on, you start moving it, you're going to smear your glue all over. So I'll put it just like this. I'll get it started. My router edge is on the right side, thank God. Put it right there. Grab it. Get it square. And if you've got a miter box, this works really nice because the miter box will give you perfect cuts. If you try and do it with a handsaw, you're not going to get your cuts exact. Let me come to this side. Before I drive that nail all the way in, I'm going to put some glue here. Put that right there. My hammer. Get it as square, as flush as possible, so this way when one box sits on the other, you got no gaps. Tap it. Make sure nothing came through. There you got it. If you're not sure, I always use, which I don't have one sitting here. I'll use a here again a store-bought box or other boxes that are put together. Just keep in mind, and then what I'll do too, you can see like the extra glue in here. I'll just take my finger and run it smooth. And when this stuff dries, this dries really nice. Just because you nail this together, don't assume it's square. It can be one side or the other. So what I do, all these boxes have already been measured. So I'm going to take one of these that have already been set in glue, and I'm going to put this on like that. Make sure it's square, and it is. If for some reason it's not square, like this one's actually off just a little bit, so you can take it while the glue is drying, and you can put it on the corner and push it, and square it back. Check it again. There. And this one's going to argue with me. There. Okay. Let's get it straight here. There. And then once you get there, now it's square. Now it's square all the way around. And once you've got it square like that, just stand it back up. Carefully, because the glue's got to dry. Just re-tap it, flip it over. I actually have another jig that I had built. I can put these boxes right in there and make sure it's perfectly square. But this works just as easy. So now it's square. Put it back on here again. Just double check, make sure it is, which it is. Flush. Flush all the way around. It's perfect. So now what I'll do, get this out of the way. Put that up there. I am going to take and put you want to make sure, one reason why it's really important to glue these boxes, these supers are really heavy. When you start making honey in the fall, you start pulling these boxes off, these things weigh a ton, which is good, you're making a lot of honey. So you want to make sure they're put together really strong. The bees will propolize the inside of these corners, you know, but once this glue sets up, this thing ain't going anywhere. Let's flip it over. And for some reason, like I said, if you mess something up, make sure there's no knot. If you do mess something up, I found with this glue, it'll pop apart. Once it's dry, it'll pop right apart. And you might have to sand it down a little bit to make sure it's flush again. But you can hold, let's just say this is off and you want to redo it. If you take this and hold it up here and take your hammer and pop it on both sides, it'll snap right loose. But when this stuff sets up, this stuff is really dry and really hard. So now you've got your box. Put your frame in here. There you go. See? You can always double check it to make sure it's okay. And here again, I'm explaining this because I've messed up. I got one deep box that I had built. I don't know how it got off. But the frames on one side fit perfect, but when you go to the other side, it gets a little tight. So I've got that box marked, and I'm going to take certain frames, and I'm just going to take on my miter box and just trim maybe 1/8 of an inch off the end, and it'll fit in there perfect. And I'll mark those frames so I know those frames will stay for that box. But that was my only mistake, and I'm not sure how it got off, because I've got jigs that I built to measure all this stuff perfect, so somehow it got off. And it happens. I mean, it's just what it does. That's why I'm telling you guys. Double check your stuff. Make sure that this fits. So you got plenty of room. Your frame fits really nice. You're good to go. So now, the final step. I'm not going to use this one because it's drying. I'm going to put this off to the side. I'm going to scrap what I was telling you about. When you shave off that extra, what did this come out to? About 1.5 inches. When you shave off, that didn't come off of these boxes. This came off of the deeps, I want to say. But when you shave off your extra pieces of wood, just save them. Because you know what these are for? Handles. I'm not going to try. When you buy your store-bought boxes, they've got that notch cut in there. I could do that with my table saw or my power saw. But it ain't going to look, to my standards, it ain't going to look right. It'll just look off. And I don't want to look at I'll have a hard time looking at that. The bees don't care, right? I do. I want it to look really nice. So, and it'll be solid. So I'm going to take one of these boxes that's already dry. Oops, I'm going to take one that's already dry, and I'm going to put it on these. And all I do is I just center these. I'll just center these boards just like this, and there's your handle. So I'm going to take it, and I've done this enough times where I can see where the center is. But you can measure it. This is 20 across, so the middle is about 10. You know, so I'm going to just position it right about there. It doesn't really matter. You can use longer ones. You can use, I wouldn't go much shorter because these, like I said, these supers are really, really heavy. So you want to have something good to grab a hold of. But here again, I'm going to glue it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put, here again, I'll pick the nicer side. I'm going to pick the nicer side to glue it. Put a little glue on there. Because you're going to want a good strong bite. I'm going to put that right about there. I'm going to center it. Make sure it's straight. Here again, you don't have to be this precise. It's all personal preferences. I like to see the stuff look perfect. So when I go out to my hives and I look at everything, everything is nice and uniform and square and straight. I'll let that set for a second. I've got a smaller nail, which these are 4D. These are just the sinker nails, like I said, but this is a 4D nail that I'm going to use. But if you use the 6D, if you use this as a guide, if you use the 6D and you drive that all the way through, it's going to pop out your box. They work fine for putting the boxes together, but for the smaller stuff, so when I nail that, and it's actually going to come right through, I'm going to go this way. When I nail that in, you can see that that nail is not going to stick through. So what I'm going to do, just bring a couple of these boxes up here. I'm going to take this, turn that over. I'm going to let it sit right there. Let it rest against something. And see where that's at. Put that. One nail there. I'm going to make sure it's straight, which it is. I'm going to make sure I didn't miss anywhere. It never fails. Whenever you're going to drive a nail all the way through, always just set your nails halfway. Don't go all the way in. Because sure enough, when you go to put it all the way through, you're going to miss. And this one's actually off-center just a hair, but it's fine. All this is a handle, and it'll look nice once it's all painted. So now that it's straight, I'm going to take it. I am going to put 3 nails. And when this thing is, well, this box is dry. This box ain't going nowhere. When this is dry, this thing is on tight. So now I'm going to take the other one. Put a little bit of glue. Same thing. Position it at the right spot. Right about there. My eye's gotten pretty good on this stuff, so I can pretty much guess where the center is. And it's right in the middle. Here again, if it's off center just a little bit, it ain't going to make a difference. The bees don't care. That's my new saying. A friend of mine taught me that saying. He says it all the time. So there. Now it's straight. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take it. I'm going to turn this over carefully so it doesn't move. Set it flat on my table. A smaller nail. I'm going to look where I'm at here. Make sure it's straight. You can even put 1 nail in. If you put 1 nail in, and if it's crooked, you can adjust it. You know, you can move this whichever way, but it's still straight. Take it, turn it back over. Add more. Nothing came out, which it didn't. Go. There's your handle. So that's where your scrap comes into handy. So save all your scrap. It really comes in handy. I use it for my deep boxes, for my supers now, for my hive top feeders. I've got videos on all this stuff. You can see it. My hive top feeders, the same thing. I just use the scrap. It works out really nice. When I build my insulation for the winter, which it's up there. You see where I'm pointing? See it up on top up there, all those pieces? Anyways, I'll take one of those pieces of insulation, I'll set the hive up and I'll put it on top and I'll mark where these handles are. Then you can just cut around on that. I use Gorilla Tape. There's a video on that. Go check that out. And it works out perfect. Now, this is strong. So when you go to pick these things up, which these are 60, 70 pounds, if they're full of honey, they are really heavy. And you've got your handle. So I'm going to go through all these boxes, put the handles on, and then these are ready to be painted. Just actually upside down. They're ready to be painted. Put your frame in. That's it. There's your super. This box probably cost about, I don't know, what's a 1x6? I buy 12-foot boards. Sometimes when you buy a 12-foot, it's just a little bit cheaper than a 6-foot because they don't got to cut it. If you're buying 6-foot boards, they got to cut that, and they'll charge you maybe just a little bit more. It's not much, maybe 50 cents, 75 cents. A 1x8x12 $8, $9, something like that. And if you've got the tools to do all this, you build yourself 2 boxes. Save yourself a whole bunch of money. And it's kind of self-rewarding to build your own stuff too. And here again, a lot cheaper. When you got this many hives running, it's a lot cheaper to build your own stuff. Fortunately, I've got the basement, I've got my tools, I've been setting all this stuff up the last year and a half or so. As far as getting this all right, you can build yourself one of these. Here's a piece of scrap. This is actually an extra piece of 1x8. Here's the scrap that you cut off the boards. It's all glued, nailed. This works out perfect. You put this here. So that's about it. So hopefully you learned something from this. Hopefully you like how I did it. Kind of the same way. Might want to tweak it a little bit your own way. But this works out really well. And like I said, building it yourself, you save so much money. And there's the finished product. There it is. The Super is ready to go. I got a bunch of frames I got to put together still. It's only January, but spring will be here before you know it. The Supers probably won't go on until sometime in May, depending on the hive. But anyways, hopefully you liked the video. If you do, please subscribe. Consider subscribing. Support the channel. There's a little bell next to the subscribe button. Click the bell. You'll get a notification every time I make a video. Give me a thumbs up. It's appreciated. Like I said, questions, comments, whatever. Let me hear from you. So until next time, YouTube, I will talk to you guys later. Bye.